You're listening to Menopause Natural Solutions, episode 44, Fluid Retention in Menopause. Welcome to Menopause Natural Solutions, your podcast for all things perimenopause and menopause related. Stay tuned as naturopath Jennifer Harrington explains how to use natural therapies to transform your health and happiness. Hi ladies, it's Jen here. I hope you're all safe and I hope that you're actually enjoying this self-isolation period. It's taken me a while to get into it, but I'm actually liking it. We're currently on our third jigsaw puzzle in my house. We've been playing so many board games and card games and getting out to do our daily exercise and doing a lot of reading. I've lost count of how many books I've read in the last month. But while we're talking about books, who's read my book From Invisible to Invincible, The Natural Menopause Revolution yet? I know that I've started to see some reviews coming through and it excites me. Like, it's one of those things for an author to put your life's work out there, and it's just so rewarding when you start seeing feedback coming through. So the first one I've got is from Vanessa, and she's in the UK, and she writes, Jennifer is the foundation of knowledge when it comes to the M word. Women are often told that the only answer to dealing with solutions is to take medication. But Jennifer shares her years of experience in this book, showing you that there is another way. Well worth a read if you're in your late 30s, 40s or 50s and struggling with the changes to your body. 5 stars. Oh, thank you, Vanessa. And I've got another one here which is on Amazon Australia, and this is by Nicola. And she writes, a fantastic read which has been extremely helpful. Clear and easy to follow information for anyone wishing to ease themselves through the transitional years of before, during and post menopause. 5 stars. Again, thanks, Nicola. So I hope to see more reviews coming through in the next couple of days, weeks, months, as more of you grab yourself a copy. And I love your feedback. It just makes me want to get up and do more. So thank you, Nicola, and thank you, Vanessa. But today we're going to be talking about fluid retention. Fluid retention is a very common issue in menopause, and I thought I would do a bit more research, and I thought I would explain to you why it flares in menopause. But let's start with some signs and symptoms. So if you're struggling with puffy eyes, swollen hands, or swelling in the feet, you may even be noticing your rings are tight, or you're seeing visible sock marks on your legs. Maybe your shoes don't fit, or maybe you've even got lines on your legs from your pants. These are all signs of fluid retention. Other signs include the feeling that your skin is tight and that there's maybe limited joint movement or even a sensation of heaviness. So water balance is the difference between the amount of water intake you have versus the amount you lose through excretion. Think sweating and urination. And the kidneys are responsible for this delicate balancing act. But estrogen has a secondary role to play here. Have you started to notice that the closer you get to menopause, the more water you retain and the harder it is to lose it afterwards? So the kidneys regulate fluid by regulating the amount of aquaporin 2 channels that are located in the kidney ducts. So the more of these channels you have, the more water that your body can recycle or reabsorb or retain. The fewer channels you have, the more water is lost in the act of urination. Estrogen plays a role in regulating the number of these channels that are found in your kidneys. The more estrogen you have, the fewer channels you have, and the more urine is created. Less estrogen, and you have more channels. More fluid is reabsorbed, and this is contributing towards fluid retention. So as we can see going through the menopausal transition, it starts with perimenopause. And that is quite often an estrogen dominant situation. But as we get further along our journey and closer to menopause and actually post-menopause, you end up with lower estrogen levels. And in these scenarios, you definitely do see increased levels of fluid retention and the puffiness that I've mentioned at the beginning. But there are many other factors that also play secondary roles in the act of balancing your fluid levels. So I'm going to recommend that you start by addressing these factors that I'm about to tell you about, first and foremost, as that may be all that is actually required. And the first thing we're going to discuss is dehydration. When your water intake is low, your body retains whatever water it has in the system. Often by increasing your water intake or drinking more water, this can signal that there is abundance of water available and your body doesn't actually need to hoard all this water. It can actually let go of the excess. And there's certain drinks like tea, coffee and alcohol that are more likely to make you dehydrated. So we want to really reduce or avoid those beverages. The second thing I want to talk to you about is increasing the water excretion via sweating. Now, I know, guys, this can be a double-edged sword for some of you, as heat can trigger hot flushes. But consider steam rooms and infrared saunas if you can tolerate them, as this can increase the water excretion and balance your water levels out. The third thing is the lack of activity. So if you're sitting or standing for prolonged periods of time, the lymphatic system doesn't actually have a pump. It moves against gravity due to muscular contraction. You need to move around. You need to go for walks. You need to go for swims, jog, or, join in an exercise class. An alternative to this is actually manual therapies such as massage, lymphatic drainage, acupuncture, or chiropractic treatments, as this can manually help to move the lymphatic fluid around. We might want to also think about how we can work with gravity. So when you're standing for long periods of time, gravity is going to pull all the water retention into your legs and your ankles. But if we're working with gravity, we would also get home at the end of the day, sit down and raise our legs, because elevation is a tried and tested technique to provide relief from fluid retention. And you can even use it for your hands. So just having your hands up above your heart and the fluid can start to return. So the fifth thing I want to discuss with you is sodium balance. Consuming processed salt like table salt or iodized salt upsets the delicate water balance and encourages the storage of water as a way to dilute the amount of salt in the system. So we want to aim to avoid all processed salts and be mindful that they're also hidden in fast foods and processed foods. Natural salts like Celtic sea salt don't have the same effect as they're balanced with trace minerals. Natural salts generally contain 43 trace minerals and are in the category of a superfood, but processed salts have had the trace minerals removed and generally just contain 2 or 3 minerals, your sodium, your chloride, and in some cases iodine has been added back in. But it's missing the 40 others. And this altered food stops being a superfood and starts being a toxin. So if you've got any table salt or iodized salt in your kitchen, bin it. Get rid of it. It's not going to do you any favors. Maybe unless you're making Play-Doh. Been looking after my little niece and nephews lately, and Play-Doh's been a big winner. So that's what I would do with any leftover table salt at home. But apart from that, I would bin it and go and get yourself some natural salts. My preference is Celtic sea salt, but you might like Himalayan rock salt. You'll generally find that natural salts are not white in colour. That your sea salts tend to have a pink tinge to it, and your rock salts tend to have a grey tinge to them. White generally means they've been bleached. So again, not something that you want to play around with. My 6th point is regarding medication. there are certain medications like blood pressure medication that have an antidiuretic effect. So that means they reduce the amount of urination and they encourage you to store water. But I don't want you to stop these medications. I want you to try the rest of the changes that I've suggested. And if they work, fantastic. If they don't work at that point, go back to your prescribing doctor and just see what your doctor thinks. Maybe there's another alternative for you that isn't likely to retain as much water. The seventh fact is about protein. Did you even know that protein plays a role in water balance? By attracting water from the tissues back into the capillaries to be transported to the kidneys for processing, if you are lacking in protein, it may be a contributing factor to your fluid retention. While we're on diet, point 8 is about excess carbohydrates and sugar. So sugar itself doesn't cause fluid retention, but carbohydrates and sugar promote insulin production. And it's insulin that has a role in retaining sodium and contributing towards fluid retention. So when we're looking for a diet, we're looking for a diet that's high in protein and lower in carbohydrates. So think about meats and salads, meats and vegetables, these kind of things. When we're looking at nutrients, vitamin B, vitamin D, and the minerals potassium and magnesium are all essential for good water balance, and deficiencies are known to contribute to fluid retention. So these may be worth considering as supplements because they have been found to be effective treatment strategies. If you're a fan of herbal medicine, there is abundance of herbs that work as diuretics. But again, if you're on medications, actually get this checked by either a herbalist or a naturopath or your doctor to make sure there's no contraindications there. And the herbs are dandelion, nettle, horsetail, butchu, uva ursi, fennel, and cornsilk. But guys, as a final note, I want you to know that fluid retention can actually be a sign that something more serious is happening. If your symptoms have come on suddenly or they're unresponsive to the recommendations we've discussed, please go and see your doctor just to rule out any more serious underlying causes. Well, guys, that's my 2 cents for today. I hope you've enjoyed considering, what's possibly contributing to your fluid retention. And there's definitely certain suggestions there that hopefully will make the difference for you. But before I leave, I wanted to remind you that during this period of self-isolation, I'm actually offering $100 off personalized consultations. So you'll get to spend an hour one-on-one with me and going through your menopausal transition, and I can tell you where I see your limitations and your weaknesses and what things we can do with your diet, whether any supplements, lifestyle, environmental changes can actually transform this period of time for you. Anyway, that's it for me now. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to Menopause Natural Solution. This podcast contains general information about menopause. It is provided as a guide and is not intended to replace medical advice. Opinions of guests of their own, and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made.